Good afternoon. Hello, folks. How are we all doing? It is 12th of April, 3:37. A little bit late. Had a few issues with my tier maker when I was about to go live, but we're back on track. So good to see you all. We've got Duke here, Chester, CM, Logan Reynolds, Nick, Zara, Jordan Decker, Brandon. Good afternoon to you all. We have 22 people at the moment. Hopefully some more will roll on in. And yeah, slashers from 2020 to 2025 I want to talk about today. And there's been quite a few. For 5 years, we've had quite a few. And there are a few that I left out. I didn't include Fear Street. I kind of, were they TV episodes, extended TV episodes? They were streaming. There were 3 of them. I didn't want to kind of throw them all into the mix. And also, I can't really remember them all. So I kind of left those out. I also left things out like those Winnie the Pooh films, which are just bloody awful. So I didn't bother with those either. But I think we have well over 20 here. And some good ones as well. I think the last 5 years has been slightly better than 2010 to 2019. I remember that one. I didn't even have anybody in the top tier. It was kind of an average sort of decade for slasher movies. But yeah, I'll switch over to this screen here and we can have a look at the different tiers that we've got. So at the bottom there, the 5th tier, we've got, "Did you just fucking shoot me?" And again, folks, if you know what any of these quotes are, then stick them down in the comments below. I think a few people guessed all the quotes from the last episode that I did. So well done to you guys. The 4th tier is "Food's a little funny at the Clown Cafe." That's probably the easiest one here. 3rd tier there in the middle is "Sorry, Jessica, this year there will be no leftovers." Tier 2, "Oh my God, it's a slaughterhouse." And tier 1, "You're a fucking movie star." Actually, I think these particular quotes are slightly easier than some of the others I've put up there. I think as an outsider, I think I would guess probably 4 of these here. One of them may be a little bit difficult, but yeah, those are the tiers, folks. Obviously, the top tier being "You're a fucking movie star." And our first movie that we have to talk about is Freaky, directed by Christopher Landon. Christopher Landon, who's out there at the moment with Drop. I kind of like him as a director, and I'm really sad that he had to go through what he went through with the Scream debacle that went on. And he's come out kind of publicly during his round of interviews for Drop to say that, he had death threats and all kinds of things. And that's one of the reasons why he sort of dropped the Scream franchise and went over to Drop. And they filmed Drop pretty quickly, I think. They filmed that over in Dublin, believe it or not. I guess kind of late last year. But yeah, by all accounts, the movie's quite decent. I am going to wait to see Drop. I'm not going to bother going to see it. I think I'll wait a month and watch it on streaming, although I should be advocating everybody go to the cinema to watch Drop. But yeah, I've got a monster of a movie to get through on Monday night, which I'll talk about probably in the next episode. And I didn't fancy sitting in the cinema twice over this weekend. But yeah, Blumhouse's Freaky in 2020. A kind of notch up from Happy Death Day for me. I really liked this kind of sort of Freaky Friday take on a slasher film. It kind of fell foul to the pandemic a little bit. I think it would have done a little bit more if it had been open season at the box office. But obviously, it was released at a time when not many people were going to the cinema. So grossed 16.2 million worldwide. That's it. That's all it took. Vince Vaughn, Catherine Newton, Celeste O'Connor. A high school student unintentionally swaps bodies with a deranged serial killer and discovers she has less than 24 hours before the change becomes permanent. I really dug this film. Like I said, I enjoyed it. I thought the gore was on point. I thought it was fun. I was hoping it was going to be the start of some sort of franchise, but unfortunately, given the times we were in at that particular moment in 2020. It didn't happen, but I really like this. So I'm going to put this... Where am I going to put it? I'm going to put it in the second tier there. Whoops, that's the third. Oh my God, it's a slaughterhouse. Freaky goes in second position. The babysitter, I can't remember the subtitle for this one. Killer Queen, that was it. This is McG, he of Charlie's Angels, Terminator. Was it Terminator Salvation? I think it was. Bit of a pop video director, I think, that went on to be a movie director. Released on September the 10th, 2020. I think it was direct to Netflix, so there's no box office information there. 2 years after defeating a satanic cult led by his babysitter, Cole's new troubles begin when old enemies unexpectedly return. I wasn't a huge fan. I thought it was okay. I think I preferred the original. And the original wasn't, didn't kind of set the world on fire. So, yeah, it was one of those films. Again, it's 5 years since I've seen it. I don't really remember much of it. It didn't really stay with me. I haven't watched it since. I'm going to put it in the fourth tier there. Food's a little funny at the Clown Cafe. Let's have a look at the chat. That's what she says. Says Frank, Darren, Blake, and Ronnie are my favorite YouTubers. Yeah, thank you for that. That's what she said. Blake and Ronnie are my favorite YouTubers at the moment because they pretty much saved my life last night. And I'll explain why. So last night, I stayed up quite late, stayed up till 2:30 watching Blake and Ronnie. And I was chatting with Dave and Frank just on Messenger. We were having a bit of backwards and forwards. Blake and Ronnie are in the background, enjoying their stream as always. And something catches my eye out of the back of my patio doors that I have. I can see like flickering. And I looked out and my garden fence was on fire, like ablaze. And I was like, I thought I was dreaming. I mean, I was, I must admit, I was souped up to the eyeballs on vodka as well. But I looked outside and the fence was on fire. And I ran up, I shouted at my wife. She ran out and banged on their door. I went out in the garden, got the hose pipe out. The garden sprinkler was on the end of the hose pipe, so I was farting around with that for long enough, trying to get that off before I could actually direct the water at the fence. And I kind of put it out from my side. Now the fence is attached to my house, directly attached to my house, where we have an extension at the back. And it turned out the fire was mainly on his side, but it turned out, yeah, there was a kind of incident where he'd been toasting marshmallows with his kids a couple of days earlier and left a bucket of ashes on some wooden decking, and the whole thing just went up. It took 48 hours for it to happen. But if I hadn't have been up, he was in bed, all his family, he's got 2 kids. If I hadn't have been up, I wouldn't have known that this was happening. And so I feel like it was a really narrow escape thanks to Blake and Ronnie going live at like 1 a.m. UK time. I stayed up to watch them. If I hadn't have done that, I don't know what would have happened, because it was really ablaze. So thank you to Blake and Ronnie for doing that stream. And it was an accident. It was an accident. It shouldn't have happened. And they're nice guys next door. They have 2 little girls, and God no, it could have been a lot worse. But yeah. Damn, that's crazy. Good thing you were up, says Brandon. It is. It is. It was quite a late night. Okay, so moving on to Wrong Turn. Wrong title, I think, on this, because it really had nothing to do with Wrong Turn whatsoever. But I did like it. I thought it was good. I thought it was better than any of the Wrong Turn movies. But it wasn't a Wrong Turn movie. So I honestly, I thought this was a good little film, and I'm going to go in the second tier there. So directed by Mike P. Nelson, released on Jan 26, 2021. Charlotte Vega, Adrian Bradley, and Bill Sage starred. Grossed 4.8 million worldwide. I think it pretty much went day and day on streaming and the cinema. So yeah, it was it was good, a really good film, a really interesting take on that franchise. A group of friends hiking the Appalachian Trail. I was going to say Alpaca Trail then. Confronted by the Foundation, a hidden community of mountain dwellers. It was more of a cult, wasn't it, than sort of inbreds in the backwoods. Nick says, Blake, now's a good time to ask Darren for some of his Bitcoin there, Blake. Yeah, I owe you one, guys. You got a super chat out of me last night anyway. Excuse me 1 second. Blake says Batman and Superman, those are real heroes. We just review movies. So Wrong Turn goes into the second position there. Oh my God, it's a slaughterhouse. Candyman, Nia DaCosta's Candyman. Nia DaCosta, who's actually directed the second 28 Years Later movie. That's been made already. That comes out next January, I believe. She did Candyman. It was a really cool take on Candyman as well. I thought it was a lot of people running around saying, "Oh, it's woke" and all this kind of stuff. No, it was cool. I thought it was okay. I thought she'd done a really good job. So I'm going to put Candyman in the middle there. Sorry, Jessica. This year there will be no leftovers. Candyman released on August 27, 2021. 91 minutes, grossed 77.4 million worldwide. Nice little earner for them, probably. A visual artist becomes obsessed with the Candyman legend, leading to a series of gruesome events. Good movie. I liked it. And I've just realised I've forgotten to put the Rotten Tomato scores on these tiles, but never mind. We'll catch up with that next time. Next, we have Halloween Kills. Another kind of pandemic victim a little bit, causing it to go on streaming and on and in the movies day and date. Took a lot of money worldwide, 133.4 million. Released on October the 15th, 2021. If you remember, it was delayed a year. It was due to come out in 2020, but for obvious reasons got delayed. And I just remember the shock on everybody when they announced it wasn't going to come out. And we had another year to talk and to grow our YouTube channels whilst Halloween Kills came out. Directed by David Gordon Green, the saga of Michael Myers and Laurie Strode continues as the town of Haddonfield unites to stop the unstoppable killer. Look, I'm not a hater of the David Gordon Green films. I think they're just fine. This is middling for me. I'm going to put it right there next to Candyman. Sorry, Jessica. This year there will be no leftovers. I actually think there's some really cool moments in this film. It's a shame the trailer gave away as much as it did. You basically had the whole movie in the trailer, and all the money shots were in there with the firefighter scene. But I do enjoy the kind of latter part of this movie after the chase is over, that Benny Hill moment where everybody's running around the hospital corridors backwards and forwards. I love some of the stuff with Michael. Some of the kill scenes I just think are really nicely shot and look great. I love the Cameron scene with is it Allison, the character? I think, yeah, Allison and Cameron, where he's killed and his head's twisted and the staircase and that whole moment there where Michael comes down the stairs and he ends up with a pitchfork in his back that Karen sticks in him. I think there's some really nice Michael moments in this film. Really divided audiences. I think more so because of that mistaken identity piece that just kind of seemed to go on for far too long, the mob sequences, and obviously the Evil Dies Tonight moments that were just ringing around our head for months after that. But I do think there's some really cool Michael moments. I think the mask looks absolutely fantastic. It's one of the best masks in the franchise, that kind of half crispy burnt mask that Michael's wearing rather than the moldy one he has in Ends. I did really enjoy this film to a certain extent, and I still do. It kind of has grown on me. Knowing how the movie ends, I do think it's not a bad entry in the franchise. And I know there are people out there who think it's probably sacrilege to say that sort of thing, but I'm just not as fussy as some people are with the Halloween movies. I don't take them too personally. I love the franchise, I really do. And Halloween's my favorite movie of all time. But I try not to get too emotionally involved in critique on these films. So I think it's the best way to be. Next up is Halloween Ends. A year later, October 14th, 2022. Grossed 105.4 million worldwide. These three movies were close to $500 million at the box office. That's just huge. And this is set 4 years after her last encounter with Michael Myers. Laurie Strode confronts the embodiment of evil one final time. Okay, it was fine. Disappointing, I guess, but I don't hate it. I'm not a hater. I get what they were trying to do. And again, there are some cool Michael moments in this film. There are some really odd moments in this movie as well. But yeah, I didn't hate on it like some people do. So I think Halloween Ends, I'm going to put in the middle again, next to Halloween Kills. Even though I think Kills is slightly better, Halloween Ends, I think, still deserves, for me, to be in the middle section there. Okay, let's have a look at the chat. Let's see what's going on. Oh, a lot of Halloween chat here. Liana says, I skipped the trailer for this one because I wasn't impressed by how they ruined the closet scene in 2018. Yeah, they did. They did kind of kill that jump scare, didn't they? Brandon says, true story, but I broke the news to Kevin Smith while he was on Jason Mewes' Twitch stream that Halloween Kills was delayed for a year, and he went off on a rant about the business. Cool. Chester says the 1978 flashbacks were great. Loomis did. He killed again. No, that sequence I really, really, really dug, and I'd love to have seen more of that in this film. And I think apparently originally there was supposed to be more of it until they did some sort of rewrites. But yeah, I think the flashback scene was supposed to be more of the movie, I think, initially. And Logan Reynolds says, Kills was my favorite of the trilogy after Ends came out. It's actually fallen to at least my second favorite. JJC and the Kills make the movie. Yeah, I love that. I love that behind the scenes footage of James Jude Courtney rehearsing the firefighter scene, you know, with all the kind of wire work and everything. It's really cool. Some really good stuff in there. Liana Beveridge says the mob sequences are snack bathroom break intermissions. They are. Like the mob sequences in this film are kind of, you know, on a par with the Sartain moments in Halloween 2018, I think. And Brandon follows it with, I think it's the weakest of Green's trilogy, but it's also the one I watch the most. Yeah, it's fun. It is fun. What's this? Jordan says, Ends also goes in OMG as I enjoy that movie more every time I watch it. Has its flaws, of course, but it's a great watch, in my opinion. I agree with you, Jordan. I do. And Blake says, Darren, no, I think I'm in the minority. I think Ends will grow on people as the years go on. I enjoy it and think it's a good story. I agree with you on that as well. I think that perhaps in years to come, people might look back on that and say, actually, it's not that bad. Actually, it's not that bad at all. Okay, what's next? Logan says, I enjoy Ends more each watch. I don't necessarily like saying that, but but it is what it is. The acting is better than Kills. Cool. Thank you, Logan. Next, we have the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Another entry that I didn't mind. I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it looked great. I mean, everything that Netflix produce looks stunning because they have a policy of it being, you know, Dolby Vision, HDR10+, Atmos, all that kind of stuff. So technically all their content, movies-wise, that they produce, their originals, are technically sound all the time and really give your system a workout. I didn't mind the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. I thought it was fun. I hated the kind of Sally... was it Sally? Yeah, the girl that came back from the original one. I hated that arc. They were trying to do a Laurie Strode thing, which just didn't work. Again, it was a moment that almost derailed the movie for me. But I did think there were some nice moments in this film. And I thought the ending... Sorry, I've just seen Ronnie's super chat here. For your fence fund. Listen, if you think I'm paying for that damn fence, I'm going to buy some more vodka to calm my nerves. Last night, I didn't want to go to bed. The fire brigade came around and they used a sensor all over the house because I was worried that it'd get under the floorboards, the foundation area, and be an issue when I went to bed. But no, the fire brigade came around and they said, no, it's all good. You're all safe. But no, thank you very much, Roddy, for that. That's very kind of you. Fence fund. It's for my my Belvedere fund. That's what it's for. What was I saying? Yeah, Texas Chainsaw. The ending, I really loved when the final girl gets her head taken off as she's going down the street. I thought that was really nicely done. A real nice moment at the end of it there. A real good twist. So Texas Chainsaw, I think I'm going to put in the middle. I thought it was okay. I did, honestly. I didn't mind it at all. Rick M says Texas Chainsaw Massacre was decent. The fact that it barely an hour and 10 minutes, it doesn't overstay its welcome, and Leatherface is good here. Yeah, I agree with you. Oops, my camera's gone. Hold on, folks. I think it's the heat in the room. 1 second. Let me just get some cool air on my camera. Switch it off and on again. I should be back with you. There we go. I have a new camera. It runs so hot, and this, because the sun's out today, this room's baking in here. So I've already got a camera attached to the back of it. A fan attached to the back of the camera, and it still shuts down. It's because it's the 4K broadcast that we're doing. When your camera's switched to 4K, it really does like overheat. So anyway, we're back. Brandon Darren's fence is on fire again. I don't know why I share this stuff with you guys. Ah, dear. Jordan, oh crap, Darren's house is on fire again. No, we're good. It's my camera that's on fire this time. Okay, where are we now? Yeah, so Texas Chainsaw Massacre, directed by David Blue Garcia. I think it was produced, if I remember rightly, by Fede Alvarez, wasn't it? Jordan says, you still got the ZV-10? I've got the ZV-10 Mark II now, Jordan. I ended up trading it in and getting an upgrade, but it's more sensitive than the last one. But it's fine once I've got the fans on it, so we should be okay now. February 18th, 2022, released directly on Netflix, so there's no box office data. After nearly 50 years in hiding, Leatherface returns to terrify a group of idealistic young friends who accidentally disrupt his sheltered world in a remote Texas town. The bus scene was fun as well in this. I'd forgotten about the bus scene where everybody's kind of filming what's going on in there on their Snapchat or whatever it is. But there's a new Texas Chainsaw Massacre coming, which we've spoken about a few times now with, who was it now? Which was the actor? The Top Gun guy, the Glenn Powell is interested in doing something with it. So we shall see. Thanks, Kingslayer. Darren's house is going to burn like lorries in Halloween Kills. No. Let's hope not. Next up, we have X, which was a real surprise. Ty West, I really like Ty West stuff. Innkeepers, I thought was great. House of the Devil, I think, was one of the, when I saw it, I thought was one of the most scariest films for 20 years, I think. Really, really dug that movie. Kind of had this kind of timeless vibe to it. You couldn't tell, whereas, what sort of year it was set. It had like a sort of 70s aesthetic, but I know there were things in there that, you could kind of place a loose date on, but I just love how stylized it was. And obviously Tom Noonan was terrifying in this film as well. And the girl in it, believe it or not, was Greta Gerwig, Barbie director, amongst other things. I think Second Sight next month, I think, have got a 4K version coming out, a proper special box set that's coming along, which I have on pre-order, so I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, Ty West then went on to do X, and it was great. This movie came out, which was sort of came from nowhere. This sort of twist on a slasher film, and we find out that at the same time he secretly filmed a prequel to it, which was just great. You know, it was like, oh wow, we're getting two of these. Obviously, the great Mia Goth was in it. Jenna Ortega was in there. Brittany Snow was in there. Released on March 18th, 2022. Only grossed 11.8 million in the US and Canada, and 14.7 million worldwide. In 1979, a group of young filmmakers set out to make an adult film in rural Texas, but their hosts' violent tendencies threaten their lives. Yeah. One of those films that a few moments that you can't believe you're seeing in this movie. Good fun, I thought. Very good fun. Neil Rook sends in £2 and says it's coming home. Is it? When? Is it next year it's coming home? I've no idea. But thank you, Neil. Good to see you in here again. Thank you very much. Jim Bob says, have you ever tried the Dan Aykroyd promoted Schoolhead vodka? It's really, really good. Yes, I have. I like vodka and I like bourbon, and I don't mix them. I just when I set out for a drink, I pick my lane. I pick a vodka lane or a bourbon lane, and last night was a vodka lane. It was Blue Duck vodka I was drinking. I think it was Blue Duck. Blue Duck. Yeah. Very nice vodka. Very nice vodka that I found. Rick M says X is great. It's what the Texas Chainsaw Massacre sequel should have been like. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it had that vibe completely. Okay, so where do I put X? I like it. I'm going to put it in the second tier, second from top there. Oh my God, it's a slaughterhouse. X was good fun. Definitely good fun. Next up, Terrifier 2, released on October the 6th, 2022. I was a fan of Terrifier when it came out. Really enjoyed that film. And then Terrifier 2, when I heard that it was 138 minutes long, I was like, what? Really? And as you know, in the UK, well, you may not know, Terrifier 2 was never released in the cinemas over here. It just kind of went straight to streaming, I think. So I kind of watched it in home at the same time that you guys were all going out to the cinemas to see it. Grossed 10.6 million in the US and 15.1 million worldwide on a £250,000 budget. That is something amazing, and it doesn't look like a £250,000 budget at all. This film, it looks more than that. It certainly does. Lauren Lavera, David Howard Thornton, and Elliot Fulham. A great movie. I really do like this one. In fact, it's my favorite of the three. I just like the scale of it. I know it doesn't bother me that it's that long because, you know, it for me it doesn't feel long. I thought the third one felt longer, and I thought the third one actually didn't have half as good a climax as the second movie did. And that bedroom scene, you know, that's the one moment where they really do take it as far as they can go. And I don't think anything in Terrifier 3 topped that in any way. I think there were moments that were just as bad. Funko Darren looks as if he's down on his luck. He's okay. He's okay. He's a little grayer than I am, but I like him. And Funko Frank just fell over. It was what was I talking about now? Terrifier 2, yeah. The bedroom scene, I think, pushed things as far as they could go, and nothing in part 3, I don't think, kind of went beyond that. It was just more of the same. Seeing that bedroom scene when I watched Terrifier 2 was a shocker, because it was far more shocking than anything we'd seen in the original Terrifier. Even with the Catherine Corcoran's splitting in two, it far outweighed that, I think. Another super chat from Neil. Thank you, mate. It says, keep up the good, mate. Great as always. Cheers, buddy. I haven't seen you around for ages, but I really appreciate that. Kingslayer says Terrifier 2 is too long in the tooth and bloated. That's its only issue. Yeah, I guess why some people would think that, and I guess why some people kind of breathe a sigh of relief when they see that the Terrifier 3 runtime's, nowhere near as long as that. I think it's about the 2-hour mark, isn't it? Thank you, Logan. Thank you for popping in, buddy. Cheers. Branda says, I told my sister about the Terrifier films. She made it through the first, but shut off Terrifier 2 at the bedroom scene. She had no interest in part 3. Yeah, it's weird. Over here, like, nobody knew, until Terrifier 3 came out, nobody really knew, I mean, outside of the horror community, who Art the Clown was. And it wasn't until, I guess, Terrifier 3 hit our screens over here that he became more of a sort of recognizable character, I guess. And people were kind of dabbling in the Terrifier films just as a kind of like to test themselves. It'll be interesting to see how much Terrifier 3 did build in terms of a fan base, a loyal fan base that will be willing to go back for Terrifier 4 when it comes out. Or was the box office of Terrifier 3 just made up of people that were going out to sort of see if they could take it and have no interest in going back? Jordan Decker says, I got to rewatch Terrifier 2. It's been a minute. Still haven't watched Terrifier 3 yet. Yeah, you should take a look at it. It's still... I mean, like I say, I'm not a huge fan of these films. In fact, I'm going to put Terrifier 2, I think, in the middle there. Actually, no. You know what? I'm going into the second place. That's unfair of me because I do like it. And I do think it's better than Terrifier 3. Yeah, I love what Damien... I've said this before. I love what Damien Leone's doing for the horror franchise. I love that he's been able to make these movies jump from being straight to home entertainment, now straight to the big screen. That doesn't happen very often. Few films have started as a DVD property and then jumped to the big screen. I think the only thing that I can think of that maybe has done that, certainly in this country, was something like John Wick. The original John Wick, I think, either had a tiny little cinema release and was straight to video, or didn't have one at all. I'd have to have a look, but I'm pretty sure that was mainly a straight to a home entertainment release, and then has enjoyed subsequent success over the years. If anybody else can think of any kind of franchise that started on a streaming platform or on DVD that's then seen future movies go to the big screen, let me know in the comments. I'm sure Brandon will be able to come up with some, but I do think they're few and far between. So yeah, so Terrifier 2 goes in second place there. Oh my God, it's a slaughterhouse. Next up, we have Scream from 2022. And yeah, I didn't mind this at all. Directed by the Radio Silence guys, Nev Campbell, Courtney Cox, David Arquette, Melissa Barrera, and Jenna Ortega. Released on Jan 14, 2022. I remember Frank and I both going to see it on the same day. He couldn't wait. I think we did a live stream later that weekend to talk about it. Grossed to 81.6 million in the US and 56.1 million internationally, totaling 137.7 million worldwide. Hey, Vanderhoff. 25 years after the original Woodsboro murderers, a new Ghostface emerges, targeting a group of teenagers to resurrect secrets from the town's deadly past. I think of the two recent ones we've had, I think this is the stronger one. I didn't mind it at all. And I love the fact that Mikey Madison, is it? I forget her name. It was the second time she'd had her head torched in the space of a couple of years, because she was one of Manson's fanatics in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, who got flamethrowed to death as well. And the same happens in this Scream film as well, in the end there in the kitchen. So I enjoyed it, and I thought that the death of Dewey was quite emotional. I really did, because I was never a massive fan of that character, and with Scream 4, I'd kind of sort of become really comfortable with him as he got older, and especially in this as well. He wasn't such the doofus that he was in the first movie, or first two movies. So I'd kind of really enjoyed his character, and then to see him get killed off was emotional. I thought they did a good job. Where do I put it? I think I'm going to put it in second place up there with Terrifier 2, X, Wrong Turn, and Freaky. Oh my God, it's a slaughterhouse. Okay, where are we next? Bodies, Bodies, Bodies is next. For those of you that, I mean, many of you may have not seen this film. I mean, check it out. It's a really interesting take on the slasher genre. I had the pleasure of being able to release this film with the company that I worked with, and we really enjoyed it. It didn't set the world alight at the box office. It only made 13.9 million worldwide. I think it has more of a kind of like elevated or art house feel to it in some instances, but it's good fun. It's good fun. Amanda Stenberg, Mario Bacalava, and Pete Davidson, released on August the 5th, 2022. A group of wealthy young friends gather at a remote mansion during a hurricane for a party game that turns deadly when real murder is involved. Yeah, it's worth a watch. I would say if you can, don't go out and buy it or anything like that, but if you see it on streaming anywhere, I think it's worth 90 minutes of your time. Where do I put it? I'm going to put it in the middle. There. Sorry, Jessica. This year there will be no leftovers. Craig Jex says, the only thing I dislike about the new Scream sequels are the ghosts of Billy and the amount of stabbings people can take and still survive. Yeah, that's kind of more in the last one that we've had. I wasn't that big on the last one. I thought it had some really nice ideas in it. Like, I loved the idea of seeing Ghostface take out those people in the store at the start. And I loved that whole sequence where as they were on the ladder across the two apartment blocks. I thought that was very tense as well. And the opening sequence I thought was good in the latest Scream film, but it felt to me like they'd rushed to get it out. I think they took their time with Scream 5. I think from the moment we knew that it was happening to going into production to release was quite some time. A little bit like this one at the moment, they've finished shooting this movie practically a year before it's going to be released. But Scream 5 to 6 felt like, that quick turnaround. The movie suffered a little bit for that. Brandon says, I actually really loved Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. The ending was just perfect. I think it is. I love that ending. I don't want to talk about it too much, but the ending is great. Chester Franklin says, Mikey Madison is her name. You was right. Yeah, trying to retain all this information for a stream is incredibly difficult sometimes when I start meandering off to talk about other things, which I often do. But yeah, I'm always comforted by knowing that you guys in the chat will back me up if I forget something. So yeah, it's... Shamrock Ball said, I pissed myself laughing at that ladder scene. It was like a parody. I know what you mean. But that whole movie felt like a parody in some moments. Like, who was it? Was it? I can't remember who it was. Was it Kingslayer or somebody said earlier on about the excessive amounts of stabs that people could take? It was ridiculous. It was. It was like they wouldn't dare kill anyone off. There was moments where we thought Courtney Cox was dead, and then the dude that's in. Oh my God, I've realised I've left a film off here, which I will talk about. I've just remembered I've left Heart Eyes off, which I must put on here. So the guy that was in Heart Eyes, I can't remember his name now, who's in the Scream movies as well. When he got carved up, it was utterly ridiculous that guy would come back. Anyway, what's next? Next we have Pearl. So again, Pearl directed by Ty West, Mia Goth, David Corenswet was in this. Our new Superman, Tandy Wright, Matt Sutherland, Emma Jenkins Puro. Released on September 16th, 2022. Actually came out over here in 2023. We had to wait some time for Pearl to come out over here. But luckily, with my US iTunes account, I could see this beforehand. And I really liked it. I think Pearl is probably the most competent of the three films. It doesn't always feel like people would argue that Pearl's really not a slasher. I think the only reason I've lumped it in here is because it is part of that trilogy, and Pearl, in the first film X, that was a slasher film pretty much. Jab was stabbed 100 times and survived. Same with Courtney Cox. Scream 6 had no stakes. Yeah, yeah. But no, Pearl is looks incredible. You know, it kind of crosses genres. In some moments it's a drama, a thriller, a musical in some moments. But then you have those moments of, you know, those kind of quick bursts of horror as well, which I really enjoyed. But the moment where she has that kind of really sort of emotionally charged monologue at the end of the movie, sort of revealing all her inner turmoil and desires and that kind of stuff, was just incredible. Like, why weren't anybody in the Academy taking any notice of that? Because she was fantastic in that role in Pearl. Shame. And I know that they did push it forward, but I guess, you know, you get the second movie of a horror trilogy or the prequel to a horror trilogy thrust in front of you. You haven't seen the first film as an Academy voter, and you're like, I'm going to be at a loose end with this. I haven't seen anything else. So it just got overlooked. Sadly overlooked. And Liana says, I love Pearl. It makes you feel trapped in the most subtle way. It does. You're absolutely right. Brandon says, Pearl is special. I think it's the best of the bunch. It's the letters from Iwo Jima to X's flags of our fathers. What a comparison that is. Wow. Okay, I get it. I totally get what you're saying. I would never have drawn that comparison, though, but I get what you're saying, Brandon. It's a great movie. It really is. Duke says, I actually prefer X over Pearl, but Pearl is an excellent movie for sure. So where do I put it? I'm going to go to the top with it because I really do think it's a special film. You're a fucking movie star. It's better than X for me, so it has to go in the top. I was starting to panic as I went on with this. I was starting to think that there wasn't a film on there which was worthy of being in the top section, but I do think Pearl is. I just think it's a really, really special movie, as Brandon says. Hey, Curtis. Good to see you, buddy. Hope to catch up with you later this year. If you guys are going to either of the conventions, HorrorCon in May next month, I shall be there with Barry. Wolfman's got Nards. We usually stay in a apartment together. And then we've got For the Love of Horror over in October, which has got the best lineup this year. Like Simon Pegg's there, Nick Castle's there, they've Lillard's there, and all the Scream guys. It's going to be great. It really is. I think they've nearly sold out, which is amazing this early on. Okay, where are we now? Scream 6. Talked a little bit about Scream 6 before, directed by the Radio Silence guys, Melissa Barrera, Jenna Ortega. Mason Gooding is the guy's name. That's his name. Released on March 10th, 2023. Grossed 108.2 million in the US and 60.8 million internationally. 170 million worldwide. You know, these films are growing. This particular these last two movies have increased in box office. And it's no wonder they're doing a new Scream film next year. How that turns out, no idea, but it should be fun. The survivors of the latest Ghostface killings leave Woodsboro behind to start anew in New York City, only to find themselves plagued by a series of murders by a new Ghostface killer. I always love, with Scream, I always kind of love the build-up, the murders, the execution of the murders, everything around it. But I'm always let down by the ending all the time. Those kind of Scooby-Doo endings never really live up to the rest of the film. And the really sad part about this Scream movie was that some idiot took a photograph from the Avid and in post-production and leaked the final moment of the movie on the internet. And it was one of those things that you couldn't really, if you were scrolling through your socials, it was spoiled for you. And that's a really sad thing. After all the hard work and effort that goes into making a movie, somebody close to the production even just did that. Really sad that sort of thing can happen. So where do I put Scream 6? Not as good as Scream 5, so I'm going to put it in the middle there. Sorry, Jessica, this year there will be no leftovers. Totally Killer. Nice little idea. Kind of Back to the Future slasher movie. Directed by Nanachka Khan, Jason Blum producing, Kiernan Shipka, Olivia Holt, Julie Bowen, and Charlie Gillespie. Released on October the 6th, 2023. This was an Amazon Prime movie. I don't know whether they kind of made it or whether they bought it as a, as a final film. 17-year-old Jamie comes face to face with the infamous Sweet 16 killer and accidentally time travels back to 1987, the year of the original murders. This was fun. This was kind of a lot better than it had any right to be, and I did enjoy it. In fact, I did think about watching it again the other day. Yeah, I enjoyed this. I really did enjoy this. I think it's it's for a streaming movie. I think they did really well. The themes of it have been seen before, obviously, but to throw the slasher element in there as well was a nice little touch. And it's going in the middle there. Sorry, Jessica, this year there will be no leftovers. Let's have a look here. Kingslayer says, plot hole that the killers in Scream are related to Jack Quaid in Scream 5, but Kirby FBI agent doesn't even know this information. Yeah. Totally Killer was surprisingly great, says Chris. Duke, Totally Killer is good fun. Twisted Lock says, I enjoyed it. A much better time travel horror than Time Cut on Netflix. We'll get to Time Cut in a minute, actually. Which was obviously made seeing how people embraced Totally Killer. They obviously went off and made Time Cut, which didn't quite cut it. Brandon says, Totally Killer is a lot like It's a Wonderful Knife. I like this new fun horror trend with films like Happy Death Day, Freaky, and Heart Eyes. Yeah, me too. I agree with you. Anything that kind of keeps horror on the screen and makes it more accessible as well. The kills in it were pretty brutal, says Chris. Yeah, I'm happy with it being on the third tier there. Thanksgiving. I liked Thanksgiving a lot. I really did. It was great to be able to take this movie to obviously with the company that I work with. Well, we took it to For the Love of Horror a few years ago, a convention. We did a great screening in Manchester a week before the release of the film. Got all the influencers out there. We did it at midnight. It was to kick off the For the Love of Horror convention. We got Eli Roth to record a greeting and put it on the screen addressing the convention. It was great. It was really good fun. And thankfully, the movie was really well received and is a decent slasher. It really is a decent slasher. It'd be good to see him come, for his sequel to come to fruition soon. I think if they can get another movie out of this, we may have a new kind of slasher icon out there. It'd be really cool. And after all these years, when was it now? 2007, when he made his original Grindhouse trailer. It was great to see it, on the big screen. Didn't take as many risks as I thought he might do in terms of replicating what the original trailer was, but still, it really worked and audiences loved it. Neil Valak, Addison Rae, Jalen Thomas Brooks, Milo Manheim, and obviously Patrick Dempsey as well. I do wonder sometimes whether Patrick Dempsey not returning to the Scream franchise has something to do with him being in Thanksgiving, if there is to be a sequel to it. Does he really want to be kind of hopping between two different franchises, particularly when he is the killer in Thanksgiving? Oh, shit, spoiler alert. It's 2 years old now. You should have seen it by now. A mass killer terrorizes the residents of a small Massachusetts town after a Black Friday riot ends in tragedy. Brandon says the inside Massachusetts jokes in Thanksgiving are, what is that? Is that good? Is that like an okay thing? I can't remember. It warms the hearts of us all, of all us mass holes. Is that what you call yourself out there? Mass holes. K-Rock says, did you see Founders Day? I didn't see Founders Day. I have heard mixed on it from some people who say it's great to others that say it's not that great. Sorry, Blake. It's 2 years old. Get over yourself. Um, someone moaned the other day. What was the film I was talking about? And it was a 70s movie. Oh, God, what was it now? It might have been when we were doing the Nasties. Oh, you just ruined this. You've just ruined this. This film's nearly 50 years old. Get over yourself. Okay. Thanksgiving. Where am I putting it? I'm putting it in the second tier there. Decent. Up there with Scream, Terrifier 2, X, Wrong Turn, and Freaky. Oh my God, it's a slaughterhouse. Rick M says Founders Day was an abysmal watch. Watch Thanksgiving again instead. Yeah, I'll give it a go because I know some people have told me Founders Day is actually worth watching, but we'll see. We'll see. Brandon says, yeah, people in Massachusetts are all kind of assholes. We wear that like a badge of honor. I've just realized where Milo Manheim seems familiar when my son watches those fucking zombie movies. Oh, zombie movies? What do you mean? Rob Zombie or... Yeah, Milo Manheim was in, Thanksgiving. Yeah. Okay, In a Violent Nature. What did I think of this? Boring, I thought it was. Came out on May 23rd, 2024, just about a year ago. A limited theatrical release, so there's not much box office data available. When a locket is removed from a collapsed fire tower, it awakens Johnny, an undead killer who embarks on a brutal rampage through the remote wilderness. This film was just like pulling teeth in parts. It really was. It was like listening to grass grow in parts, just following this dude walking around with his nasty fingernails and all that kind of thing. Some interesting kills. I mean, the yoga kill obviously is going to be like everybody's kill of the year last year. Not just for I mean, it's completely outrageous, but fun. And I loved the fact that the makers of the movie gave that scene to all the different horror YouTubers and influencers and asked them to film themselves watching it. It was a nice little kind of viral gag that they did. But the downside to that is it is the best part of the movie because the rest of it is pretty dull. Jordan Moran says Milo Manheim is in a kids movie called Zombies. They're all musicals. It's fucking horrible. Oh, okay. Okay. Jim Bob says driving through Kansas is more entertaining than In a Violent Nature. Oh, really? And K-Rock says, I'm a political junkie, so the fun mayor's election stuff mixed with a slasher dressed as a founding father was with a gavel was a hoot. Okay, cool. Then Duke says, I guess this is about In a Violent Nature. Boring indeed. It would have definitely been better if they'd used a soundtrack. Yeah, just his big old boots crunching on the ground for 90 minutes. Yeah, not great. Shane McKay says, In a Violent Nature was the number 2 on my list for last year after The Coffee Table. I'm a big Coffee Table fan. I said that I would never probably watch that film again. However, I have got... the new Second Sight box set on its way to me pretty soon, and I will watch it again. I do like that movie. I do like what it does to you. I think that horror films are supposed to kind of elicit like emotional responses from you, and that's certainly a masterclass in doing that. And I don't have kids. I get why a lot of people would not like that film and would see it as a one watch only. I totally understand that. But I loved what they did with it. And it staggers me that that movie was only a 15 rating in the UK because you see nothing at all. You absolutely see nothing whatsoever. You think you do, but you don't. Because it's not as graphic as, the premise would suggest, it was cleared for younger audiences. CM, don't get me started on The Coffee Table. Yeah, it's a Marmite movie for sure, and I understand that people will not dig it. I haven't. What I want to do is watch it with my wife. She knows the premise. I'm gonna sit down one evening when that new version box set comes through, and yeah, we'll watch it. Jordan Decker says coffee table was anxiety inducing from start to finish, which was sort of refreshing. Actually, it is. It just absolutely it plays with your emotions right from the very beginning, and you just feel so bad for this poor guy. You feel so bad for him because what starts off as something that's utterly horrific and incomprehensible turns into something that's 10 times that when everything wraps up, in terms of what people would think of him and what he has or hasn't done. It really is a roller coaster. Okay, next. Oh, so where am I putting in Violent Nature? In Violent Nature, I'm going to go on the 4th tier there. Food's a little funny at the Clown Cafe. Skinamarink, Flavio. That's a movie I'm yet to watch. Watched Skinamarink, hated it, had a dream about it, worst nightmare ever. Pat, that Halloween movie collector, he always goes on about how bloody awful that film is. And, you know, around the time it was coming out, there were all sorts of articles about how well this filmmaker had done in making this low-budget movie, and it's one of the most terrifying things you'll ever see, and it got built up and built up and built up, and then everybody watched it, and it was just kind of... You know, no one seemed to like it whatsoever. Brandon says, I kept hoping for a twist in the coffee table, but it never came. It just kept getting worse and worse for the characters. It does. It just like kind of... There's a line in Ghostbusters 2 about getting sucked down to the 10th level of hell. And that's exactly what that movie does. That poor guy ends up in the 10th level of hell. And for what? An accident. I'd still recommend it to people. People were writing to me after I did that review on it and were saying, you're sick. This is like a Serbian film. Shut up. It's not like the Serbian film whatsoever. Nothing like that. Absolutely nothing like a Serbian film. Skinamarink makes it a Violent Nature look like Citizen Kane. Thank you, K-Rock. Cheers. Okay, next we have Time Cut, released on October the 30th last year. Grossed 22 million against a budget of 47 million. A teenager accidentally time travels to 2003, days before a masked killer murders her sister and attempts to change the past without destroying the future. A complete rip-off of Totally Killer, but not half as competent as that film. Produced by Matthew Kaplan and Christopher Landon, actually. So he should know better than to rip an idea off like that. Madison Bailey, Antonia Gentry, Griffin Gluck grossed 22 million against a budget of 47 million. I've read out the synopsis there. So yeah, I just thought it was watchable, but it was just, you know, it wasn't to the level of Totally Killer whatsoever. So it's gonna go. It's not terrible. It's not terrible. It's gonna go there. Food's a little funny at the Clown Cafe. 4th tier. Brandon, it's brilliant, but never again. When's the sequel TV stand coming out? Michael Myers says, imagine having the power of time travel and only going to crappy 2003. Exactly. That's interesting. When would you go back? When would you go back to if you could time travel? I think I would love to be, maybe not this age that I am now, that's too old, but I'd love to be in my 30s and go back to like 1977 or something like that, and then just live from the age of 30 from 1977 onwards and be through all the 80s again. I think that would just be wonderful. Be able to go and see Dawn of the Dead and Halloween and Friday the 13th at the cinema and really kind of, you know, enjoy it as a kind of more mature person rather than the kind of, you know, 10-year-old oik that I was back then. But yeah, I'd love to go through the 80s again and experience that. Look at that. K-Rock says 1984. Yeah, go back to the 80s, says Kingslayer. Yeah, it'd be a great thing to do. A really cool thing to do. Much more simpler time. Much more simpler time. Okay, The Strangers Chapter 1. I actually watched this the other day for this stream. I watched it on my phone on the way to work, and I was just like, why did they do this? Why did they make this film? And why are there another two to sit through? Not great at all. Poor Rennie Harlin. You know, I've been talking about Rennie Harlin quite a bit recently. I've been doing some Blu-ray reviews, and Long Kiss Goodnight, which I absolutely adore, was a great 90s action picture, and they just bought a fantastic Blu-ray out of it at the moment. And Rennie Harlin obviously directed that. He did Cliffhanger, he did Deep Blue Sea, Die Hard 2. He did some great, really cool, iconic movies back in the 90s. And then just of late, he's just been relegated, the poor sod, to just doing cheap, either direct-to-video, TV, or direct-to-video, direct-to-streaming, direct-to-DVD, TV movies, or, The Strangers. Yeah, completely pointless. I don't think it's unwatchable. And I wouldn't put it in the bottom category, I don't think. But I think it's kind of like, it's fourth from the bottom for me. Shamrock says, I reluctantly just bought the Arrow Deep Blue Sea. Cool. That's great. Watch out for a movie called Shiver, Shamrock. Was due to come out this year, has moved to next year now. I'll just tell you, you'll like it. You'll like it. Where are we now? I saw Blake said something. Go back to the time when being bald and fat was a sign of great wealth. Oh, dear. Jim Bob says, I'd go back and bet the house on Buster Douglas versus Tyson. And Brandon says, Michael, for real, if I can time travel, I'm going back to 1990 and teaching 12-year-old me about carbs and crazy women named Katie. Darren yelling in the theatre in 1978, they're siblings in the sequel. Should have brought some water up with me today. I didn't. I forgot that. And it's baking hot in here as well. K-Rock, The Strangers Chapter 1 is completely pointless. Brandon, where are we now? Cutthroat Island. Cutthroat Island. You know what? I didn't mind Cutthroat Island. It's a big, expensive mess, but I see what he was doing, and I thought it had some great moments in there. Some amazing stunt work. But yeah, it was one of the most expensive flops of all time, and didn't do a lot for his career, really. Michael Myers says to go back to 1973 to experience The Exorcist coming out in cinemas and the crazy reactions. Yeah, that's the only downside. If I went back to 1973 and was 30, I'd be 80 now. 82. Jesus. Blake says, Darren, if you could go back in time and invest in any movies of the 70s or 80s, what would you pick? Whoa, okay. That's a good question. 70s. I would probably the Bond franchise, because the Bond franchise is a franchise that has had its ups and downs, but in the past 20 years has been, $1 billion franchise. So it would probably that. Jim Bob says Darren would go back and tell his maid only one DVD. Very good, Jim Bob. Very good. Michael Myers says Heaven's Gate would be a solid investment. Yeah, I'd do that. I'd say, right, put money on Ishtar, Heaven's Gate. What's the other one? Hudson Hawk, Speed Racer movie. Oh, what else? What else would I put it on? Stealth with Jamie Foxx. All those movies. I'd just put, as Jim Bob said earlier, he'd put his house on them. I'd put my house on all of those. Halloween for sure. It made like 1 billion times its initial cost. Where are we now? Maxine. Last year, I got to go to the sort of kind of London gala screening of this last year, which Ty West came and introduced, and everybody was really fired up. It was in a great little Soho theatre, not in a multiplex. It was a kind of old school theatre, and really kind of fit the vibe of the movie, Speed 2, and The Postman. Everybody was fired up. The lights went down, and when the movie finished, there was this kind of overwhelming sense of like disappointment in the room. I think the trailer was so good. The trailer is better than the movie itself. It's not a bad film. For me, it's the weakest of the trilogy. But I think anticipation was so high for Maxine that it could only fail in terms of your expectation levels. And I mean, there was one moment in there, the bit where the heel on the guy's bits, the whole audience just hit the ceiling when that moment happened. But yeah, released on July the 5th, 2024, directed by Ty West. The cast in this was huge, wasn't it? Absolutely gargantuan cast. Grossed 22 million worldwide. So probably the most popular of the franchise in terms of box office, but for me, the weakest entry. Set in 1980s Hollywood, adult film star and aspiring actress Maxine Minx finally gets her big break. However, as a mysterious killer stalks the starlets of Hollywood, a trail of blood threatens to reveal her sinister past. Yeah, I just didn't really buy the ending. I don't want to spoil it too much. I've spoiled too much in this stream already. But yeah, I wasn't on board with the ending of this film. I really wasn't. So disappointing. I will give it another chance at some point. But for me now, I'm going to put it in the middle somewhere. There we go. Brandon says, I swear it feels like I'm the only one who loves Maxine. It's such an homage to Angel, MS-45, and 8 Million Ways to Die. The music is great, and it has a perfect sleazy giallo feel to it. I know exactly what you mean. It just didn't. I think a lot of people wanted to go in a different direction, and it didn't. And it was just kind of this, almost like this whodunit with a character, a bit like Friday the 13th, whereas you don't really get any clues as to who might have done it. You know, it's Mrs. Voorhees, which she just kind of walks in at the end. That was what this felt like to me. A character that we hadn't seen before just kind of appears. Brett Patrick, another good performance from Kevin Bacon. Yes, and I'm watching The Bondsman at the moment. I've watched the first episode and I really liked it. If any of you have not watched The Bondsman, it's got a real kind of, I guess, Ash versus Evil Dead feel to it. It's worth a watch. I'm hoping it maintains, the level of how good it was in the first episode. Finally, Terrifier 3. Huge anticipation for this film. The first time they'd had any sizable budget. I think it was a 2 million budget and grossed around about 90 million worldwide. So the Damien Leone, did the right thing. He didn't sell it off to a studio. He went his own route, got the funding, and has made an absolute mint from this. So set 5 years after the events of the previous film, Sienna Shaw attempts to rebuild her life while being pursued by Art the Clown and his new accomplice, a demonically possessed Victoria Hayes, during the Christmas season. Yeah, it's as I said earlier, nothing really surpasses the kind of the most shocking moments of Terrifier 2, but there's just more of them. And he does try to outdo himself. There's kids that are killed, I guess, in one of the first scenes in the movie, kind of off camera, but you do see the aftermath, which is pretty gnarly. And yeah, there's a few moments of real kind of gut-wrenching stuff, but as I said, nothing that's you haven't seen before. So where do I put it? I'm going to put it in the middle. I think it deserves to go in the middle. So only one movie really in the top tier there. This is how it shapes out. At the bottom, nothing in the bottom tier. Let me just take this off the screen so you can see. Nothing in the bottom tier. Tier 4, Food's a Little Funny at the Clown Cafe, has Babysitter, In a Violent Nature, Time Cut, and Strangers Part 1. Tier 3, sorry Jessica, this year there will be no leftovers. Candyman, Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Bodies, Scream, Totally Killer, Maxine, and Terrifier 3. Tier 2, oh my god, it's the Slaughterhouse. Has Freaky, The Wrong Turn, X, Terrifier 2, Scream, and Thanksgiving. And then at the top, on its own, I guess one of my favourite horror movies of the past 5 years is Pearl, You're a Fucking Movie Star. That's it. That's how it shapes up, folks. Let me know down below how you would have ranked these films. I always loved seeing what people's thoughts are. Do you disagree? Do you agree? Am I still adding Heart Eyes? Yes, I am still adding Heart Eyes. I can't get the image, though, but I really liked Heart Eyes. I'm going to have to give it another watch to solidify its position, maybe in the second tier, but for now, I would put Heart Eyes in the third tier. I thought it was a really nice idea. Mishmashing those two genres like that. Brett Patrick says, I really wish Kevin Bacon's show The Following would have went longer. I never saw it. I never saw The Following. I think my dad watched it, but I never actually saw it. Okay, let's come off this screen here. Go back to this. Let's see what Heart Eyes snubbed. I just said it was in the middle tier. I didn't snub it into. I did have. I don't know why, but I did download the. It's actually on my list here, but the icon for whatever reason didn't import into Tier Maker, which is disappointing. But that's a lot of slashers in 5 years. Imagine I did this at the end of 2013, 5 years time. It's going to be a lot of slashers over this decade. A lot of them, because we know we've still got stuff to come. But yeah, what a great start to 2025, to 2020, to 2025. All those movies that we're all big fans of, in the slasher subgenre. Rick M said Heart Eyes would be second from the top for me. Yeah, I'm kind of like, I was kind of edging that way myself, but I just want to watch it another time just to make sure that I'm as fond as it as I remember. Brett, when are you all going live tonight? Oh, you're asking Brett. Okay, is that? Oh, I saw you're doing. It was some watch along or talking about some film. Either way, go over and support Pat, that Halloween movie collector, their channel. They go live about 2 or 3 times a week. Always do really cool content, and they're great guys as well. I don't know if Brandon can put Pat's link in the channel here for people. That would be great. Thanks, Brandon. The Following was great for the first season. It fell off for me in the second season. Okay. Was it like a serial killer program or something? I don't know if I remember what it was. K-Rock says there's a new slasher called Marshmallow I'm going to see tonight, Going In Blind. Is that what that's out at the cinema at the moment? Marshmallow? Okay. Cool. And Don Mac says, I just saw Hell of a Summer a few days ago. Rather disappointing as either a slasher or a comedy. Yeah, I would have maybe included that if I'd seen it. My wife's seen it. She says I'll probably kind of like it, but haven't had a chance to look at it yet. It hasn't come out in this country, I don't think. So no. There's also that Clown in a Cornfield as well coming up soon. Brandon says, there's the link for Pat's channel. There you go. Pat, that Halloween movie collector. Him and Brett do great content over there, so you should go and support them. What else have we got? We got I Know What You Did Last Summer coming this year. There's another slasher that's coming along. There's Until Dawn coming up this coming weekend. There are definitely slasher elements in that film. So we've got a full menu at the moment of slasher movies and different franchises out there that are delivering the goods. Okay, it's getting so hot in here, folks. My camera image is actually starting to wobble as well. This is what happens in the summer in this room. It's a bloody hot box. We don't have aircon like you guys do in the US, so it can be quite challenging at times. Super chat coming in from Nick says, Darren, with Scream and their crazy fans Hang on a minute. This is jumping. Darren, with Scream and their crazy fans to that plot line, do you think that in the new Scream that we'll see take place at horror conventions, all the while being meta at the same time? That would be interesting, but that kind of would be along the same lines as Stream, which came out earlier this year from the makers of Terrifier, where all the kind of convention people are staying in the hotel and they're getting attacked, I think. Was that the plot? No, it wasn't the plot. That's what I felt like it was. It felt like the movie was shot after a convention because all those actors were there. There was so much horror alum in that movie that it felt like they kind of shot it in the hotel after a convention. But who knows? I mean, I tend to think it's maybe a meta take on the is the next Scream film, because that hasn't been done for 30 years in terms of the kind of New Nightmare, Wes Craven's New Nightmare type take. Either that, or a lot of people are saying it could possibly be AI. You know, like, I don't know, they're going to spend the whole movie creating action figures of themselves or something like that. Where did that come from all of a sudden? Everybody creating action figures of themselves on ChatGPT. Yeah, who knows? Who knows what it's going to be? I mean, it can't be anything other than cameos, really, can it? Or a meta take? I mean, we've already done the sort of the Skeet Ulrich kind of, ghost sequences or dream sequences. We're not going to have a load of those, are we? Do we need that? I tend to think it might be something meta, but I don't know. I'm only a kind of surface level Scream fan. I don't want to kind of put my flag in the ground and then everybody kind of comes at you because of it, because they know something different or better or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm quite happy to kind of sit around and wait and see what unfolds. But with the amount of people they're bringing back, if all of a sudden we hear Drew Barrymore's coming back as well, then you could be right about this, Nick. But thanks for the super chat. That's really kind of you. And there is Blake and Ronnie's channel, ATG and AT, for you to check out, and frankly speaking as well. Kingslayer says, have you seen people trashing theaters during screenings of Minecraft movie? Yes, I did. I saw I've seen a few YouTube shorts with people lobbing drinks, and what's up with people? Honestly, gee, I'd be sound like an old man. I'd be so cross if that happened when I was there. No, I'd be like, what the fuck? I know somebody who I work with who ended up having to challenge some guys who were sat behind him that were carrying on like that. I don't want to get myself into that sort of situation. Brandon says, I'd bet real money the plot revolves around a killer using AI. Quite possibly, yeah. And K-Rock says, bringing back Stu makes no sense. His face was smashed with a TV and he was electrocuted. Go over to Barry's channel. Barry, I won't tell you what he does, but he works he's in a field of work, whereas he has to examine cases where things like that have happened, and he says it's survivable, even with an old CRT TV. He did a whole video on the fact that Stu could survive a CRT television being dropped on his head. Look, if that guy can survive all those stab marks from the last Scream movie, then I'm sure Stu can withstand a TV dropping on his head. Okay, folks. On that note, I'm going to get off. There'll be more content coming from Mr. Sandsman over the next few days. I'm going to be live with Frank on Tuesday. We're going to do our 10 favorite bits of physical media. Now, that could be DVDs, Blu-rays, maybe a comic book, I don't know, or even vinyl or something like that. So we're going to get our 10 favorite bits on the channel to show you all and to chat about. So thanks very much for joining me today. We had a good sort of 50, 60 people here at one point. Thanks for all the likes, the subscribes, the super chats. You guys are great. I really do enjoy coming on here on Saturday afternoon. Next Saturday, Nigel, who joined me a few weeks ago for the Video Nasties episode, British guy with the long hair, if you remember him, he's going to join me next week, and we're going to talk about Scream and Shout Factory. and we're going to do our 10 favorite movies that Scream Factory or Shout Factory, whichever one you want to call them, have released. So that'll be next Saturday afternoon, Easter Saturday at 3:30. So check that out then. A thumbnail will be going up during the week. But until then, folks, thanks for joining us, and I shall see you soon. Cheers.